Hey guys, Sharpen here. In this video I'm going to show you how to turn this audio into evolving atmospheres and drones that sound something like this. In addition to that, I'm also going to show you how you can make sure these atmospheres don't interfere with the rest of your track, resulting in something like this. So in this video I'm going to show you how to recreate that long evolving atmosphere or drone sound that you can hear usually in future garage tracks, in techno tracks, and in ambient music in general. I'm going to be recreating it using granular synthesis, so you want to choose a sound that you like and go from there. I personally recommend the Spitfire Labs library. It's a really nice free plugin that has a lot of real instruments that they record and sample. In this tutorial I chose to use the moon guitar, which sounds like this. So after you have your sound, the first thing you want to do is to choose a chord and play it in MIDI notes that are separate from each other. In this case I chose the C minor chord, C sharp minor chord, which is C sharp, E, and G sharp. So this chord is fairly simple, and I've decided to add the fourth, which is F sharp, to add some flavor to it. But keep in mind that the more notes that you add to your chord, the more cluttered it's going to sound in the final mix, and you want it to sound fairly clean. So go easy on the additional notes. So after you have the MIDI clip with all of the different notes, you want to go ahead and just render it out. So let's do that. And now that you have it rendered out, you want to go ahead and open Granular synthesizer, like for example the Fruity Granulizer. I'm going to open two of these, and I'm going to send our track into them. And then once inside, you want to do a couple of things. You want to go ahead and normalize the audio. You want to reduce the length so you're not getting any silent parts, like this. And let's do the same thing for the second granulizer. And now let's go ahead and work inside the granulizers. So what you want to do is to set it to loop first of all. You want to set the starting time to be slightly different to create some randomness. And then you want to use the randomizer all the way to create some more randomness. It should sound like this, which is a granular mess. So to fix that, we're going to reduce the attack to 0. And we're going to increase the hold all the way so that the grains are exceptionally large, which will make them sound less glitchy. That's because each grain takes more time to finish. Now, using the grain spacing, you can change the speed. Turning it to the right is going to reduce the speed, and to the left is going to make it much faster. So we're going to set it at around here, so it's not too fast and not too slow. Let's do pretty much the same thing on the other granulizer, but we're going to do some changes, like setting the starting time to a different point, having some attack in this one, increasing the hold the same amount, but again changing the grain spacing by a bit so that it's slightly different from the previous one. Now we're going to pan them to the left and to the right at around like 80%. We don't need to pan them completely. And now let's use this layer so we can play both of these together. All you need to do is just choose these and click on set children, and now the layer is going to play both of these. Now let's route these to a mixer track I've made before. This one is an effects track for our granular sound, so let's go ahead one by one. We have the Flutterbird here, which is a free tremolo and vibrato plugin. It can make it sound sort of like old vinyl instruments if you want to, and sort of like sound hollow. Then there's the Chorus, which is another free plugin. It's going to add some stereo width if you want. And then there's an EQ that I recommend to use at any time. Basically, it's increasing the highs and making sure that the low mids and the bass aren't going to create a lot of mud in your mix. And then there's isotope vinyl, which is just makes it sound slightly older. I think it's just removing the lows using a bandpass filter. And then there's the reverb, which makes the atmosphere what it is. So the reverb should be a really long reverb at 100% wet. This one is on 32 seconds. And the main thing when you're looking for a good reverb for this atmosphere sound is to look for a reverb that sort of retains some of the transients, so that it doesn't sound like a complete blur. You can still hear some transients here and there, like this reverb for example, which is why I chose it. So in addition to that, there's also a second mixer track that I'm sending it to. It's called Delay. It basically has a bandpass filter, some volume increase, and then just a delay that's going to the left ear and then to the right ear. It's just adding some more interesting transient to the granular audio. So altogether with the reverb you get a really big sound, and then what you want to do is to just hold the notes and let it record for a while. So after recording the granular synthesizers with the reverb, we're left with this WAV file. And what you want to do is to make sure that after you stop pressing the note, which is at around here, you want to keep recording the reverb tail. This is extremely important because if you're looking to create really dark pads, all you need to do is go to a really quiet place where you think the reverb tail has ended and just maximize the volume there. And you're left with a much darker pad compared to the original sound. So here's the original sound while I'm still holding the note. And here's the pad near the end of the reverb tail, which is a lot darker, and it's really great if you're looking for that kind of sound as well. So before this video I've already rendered such a WAV file that is exactly the same thing. It's basically the granular synthesizers going through the reverb. It sounds like this. And as you can see, the more that you're holding the note, I've held the note until about here, the more it's going to evolve and sound louder, which is great because you want your pad to sort of grow from a very small sound into a bigger, more bright pad. So after you have your pad sound, an additional suggestion is to also add some sort of noise sample so you can hear it in the mix a bit better. So I've chosen this vinyl crackle sample, and what I did is just increase the volume over time, so to make it feel as if the pad is also evolving with the noise being brought in. Here's how they sound together. And then I've created a short demo track that has a bass, a pad, and some drums. And I want you to see how you can mix this atmosphere with the pad with no problem. So in order to do that, you want to find a pad that sounds pretty good on its own, like this one. And then what you want to do is to sort of remove some mid frequencies that might be interrupting your atmosphere. And at the same time, you want to go to your atmosphere and remove all of the bass so that it doesn't clutter up with your main bass sound. And just make sure that the mids are pretty present, because these are the most important frequencies, the tonal frequencies of this atmosphere. So together with a pad, you can make it sound pretty fine. And also with bass, because we're also high passing it. So here's how all three sound together. And then once you add drums, you can sidechain your bass, for example. You can also sidechain the pad if you want, and that way you can get a really nice mix without this atmosphere cluttering up the entire mix, thanks to a lot of high passing. So that is pretty much how you can create this type of atmospheres, and feel free to experiment with any source signal that you want for the granular synthesizers. It's going to sound wildly different depending on the source signal. And also try experimenting with different reverb settings for different sounds as well. And that is pretty much it. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what subject you want me to cover up next time.